Well, Richard Rennie wrote in this week's Farmers Weekly about a group of high-profile kiwifruit identities backing an investment fund aimed specifically at raising money to purchase existing or greenfield SunGold kiwifruit orchards. Origin Capital Partners' four principals include ex-Zesbury's Chief Executive Lane Jager, ex-Zesbury Chair Craig Greenlees and Zesbury's Deputy Chair Paul Jones, as well as being joined by the fourth founder, Dominic Jones, who left a banking career in the UK to oversee Origin's fundraising. He says the group is initially aiming to raise $50 million by Christmas, and the first funding is well underway for two established orchards under offer and a third in its sights. Dominic joins us now here on Ceres Country. Dominic, let's start. When did you land back in New Zealand from the UK?
Myself and my wife got back around Christmas. We came back to get married in January, as it happened. So all quite good timing, as it's turned out.
Yeah, so this definitely wasn't a COVID move, a planned move.
No. And in fact, we actually left the UK in about June of last year and travelled back through Asia and went to the Rugby World Cup and that sort of thing. So that sort of travel plus our subsequent wedding in January was just good luck with the timing, as it turned out.
Fantastic. Okay, with SunGold orchards in the Bay of Plenty fetching $1 million per canopy hectare, and those licences are $400,000 a hectare in this last Zesbury's tender process, you can see why obviously it's in such hot demand. So Origin Capital Partners are pulling together a lot of ex-Zesbury identities, as we said. Why did you particularly come on board with this venture?
Look, we didn't establish this and look for the identities. It's more the four of us through a number of different avenues already involved in any number of ventures together. So one of the partners, Paul Jones, is actually my father. Both him and Craig Greenlees founded DMS, which is one of the country's larger post-harvest operators. And it's the nature of the kiwifruit industry where everybody knows everybody. So we've had a lot to do with Lane Jager and we're stoked when he agreed to come on board.
So $50 million by Christmas, realistic?
Yeah, so we have a first close of 50 mil and a final close of 100 mil. What that means is once we get to the 50, we'll start spending and we'll call whatever we've already spent, but we'll continue to fundraise. It's now looking like our first close will be comfortably north of 50 million. We're above that number already.
So when there was the bid for Zesbury licences, it was oversubscribed by 3.5 hectares to the hectare on offer. How available is actually sourcing these existing orchards?
So there's two things. There's Zesbury license that was oversubscribed by a factor of 2 times. Traditionally, about half of applicants miss out. When you buy an orchard, that's a totally different process. It comes with the license attached.
Yes. Now the question was just to do with the demand.
Sure, we're buying orchards, and for that we don't need to worry about license. When we build orchards, absolutely we're going to have to bid for license, and that's a risk of what we do.
Yeah, certainly. Sorry. Well, I was just trying to set the scene in terms of the fact that regardless, there is significant demand for SunGold, and so therefore being able to source. Do you find it to be a challenge?
The reality is when our fund's fully raised, we'll have a portfolio of about $200 million. That'll be about 15 orchards. There's 3,300 kiwifruit orchards in New Zealand, so look, finding good ones is more difficult than finding poorer quality ones, but we're still just a pretty small piece of the overall pie.
Sure, certainly. And so with regards to from $100,000 up, how are investors getting on board?
Well, we have investors in for $100,000 and we've got investors in for 20 million and any number in between. A lot of that is coming from the private investor space, so mum and pops, and the typical demographic is I guess middle-aged plus, and people that are looking for a home for, as I said, on the most part $100,000 to say $1 million, and what we're seeing time and time again is actually a very common theme is investors that have term deposits rolling off and want a better place to park that capital.
Very positive cash returns here in this article, 10 to 13% a year. I mean, that's absolutely incredible in this current age.
Yeah, well, look, the reality is at the moment, kiwifruit orchards are returning much greater results than that. When we show a 13% return, we're actually modelling in over a 10-year period a reduction in SunGold prices. That's potentially prudent, but that's the way we've gone about it. But this year, in the terms of the most recent harvest, is the 6th consecutive year of increasing returns to growers. So look, it's never been a better time to be a kiwifruit grower.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dominic Jones, a co-founder of Origin Capital Partners there, following a story in this week's Farmers Weekly from Richard Rennie.
This is Sarah's Country.